And welcome to Candidates Corner on LPTV, Libertarian Party Television, a production of the Libertarian Party and the Libertarian National Committee, Joe Bishop, Henchman Chairman. As always, John Gapso on the big board, bringing you information, statistics, maps, and great components of the show relevant to the candidate visiting us tonight. I'm your host, Pat Ford. I'm the proud chair of the Libertarian Party, Rhode Island. As always, there are a few purposes for this show. We want to give the Libertarian community an opportunity to meet our wonderful down-ballot candidates from around the nation. We want to challenge those candidates to incorporate lunch pail issues into a Libertarian and through a Libertarian perspective. And of equal importance, we want to take this opportunity to create a bond, a recognition that the down-ballot candidates who are the future of our party and the present of our philosophy create a bond between affiliates around the nation. Tonight, again, it's Pennsylvania. A special election has reared its head, and here on Candidates Corner, we stop what we're doing when we have the opportunity to promote a Libertarian candidate for a special election. But whether it be an affiliate on our new show on Monday evenings or a candidate tonight, to further communication, the bond between libertarians from around this great nation. Last week, as far away as Alaska, and we've had so many people from around the country join us. An important point, if you would like to be on the show, if you're running for office, you've got a declared candidacy, you've established some level of social media and perhaps a website, and you'd like the opportunity to promote your candidacy and reach out to the Libertarian nation at large, reach out to us. I'm all over social media with the Libertarian Party. We've got, of course, our Facebook page, LPTV, Libertarian Party Television. Again, a special election. Special elections are a unique opportunity for the Libertarian philosophy. Unlike, say, a crowded election season where multiple candidates are running for office on multiple platforms across a state, across a county, across a community, this one election stands out and presents a unique opportunity to approach the news cycle, to approach the media, to approach the community and highlight our Libertarian philosophy. And really, in terms of established, properly, if you will, based communities, puts us on more of a level playing field, quite frankly. None of the candidates in many of these special elections have had the long-term opportunity to use the, if you will, the value of their incumbencies, the value of their machines. You've got 2 or 3, sometimes more candidates starting off from one spot. And the focus is often very clearly on issues, much more, say, than a general election where the cult of personalities that dominate the duopoly might be holding sway. And so that's the situation we face tonight. Joining us for the very first time is Andrew, otherwise known as Andrew Hreha. He is running for the Pennsylvania State House, District 60, based primarily in Armstrong County, the county seat, Kittanning, Pennsylvania.
Yes,
Drew,
sir.
Claudia, welcome to Candidates Corner. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Pat, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this.
So let's take a moment and step back and talk about the actual election for just a moment. What precipitated this special election?
So the longtime representative from District 60, Representative Jeff Pyle, he resigned last week from his position. He had won re-election in 2020. Unfortunately, and right off the bat, my prayers are with him and his family. He's had a health decline, and so he decided to resign from his position. And so here we are. They decided that the special election would coincide with our primary season on May 18th. And so it is a month-and-a-half sprint, I guess.
Well, and again, we all pray for the gentleman. It's regardless of how we feel about issues, there are wonderful people in the duopoly who have served a lifetime of public service. And this, of course, points out, if you will, sometimes the tragedy where folks have given so much of themselves and then life has a way of interceding. We all need to reflect on that, and we all need to be kind. Kindness is something that all of us as libertarians, I think, really need to reflect on after a difficult year and a half for so many of us. But here we go. You've got a month and a half, if you will, to jump into this. Tell us about yourself, your background, and as always, what's your libertarian journey been?
Yes. So my name's Andrew Hreha. I am 22 years old. And so I'm currently a senior at Waynesburg University, which is in very southwestern Pennsylvania, about 15 minutes away from the West Virginia border in Greene County. I'm a communication major at Waynesburg, studying journalism with a minor in political science. And my libertarian journey, I point to myself as one of the examples of someone who was a libertarian and just didn't know it yet. I grew up really just not interested in politics. I really didn't get involved or, start paying attention to government, even economics or politics until my senior year of high school. So 5 years ago. And then when I did, finally decide to start paying attention, I had an intro to government and economics class that I really enjoyed. And so looking at colleges, I knew I wanted to go into communication to study journalism, and I found Waynesburg University. It's a beautiful school, beautiful campus in rural Pennsylvania. And so I knew I wanted to go there. And I was looking at, scholarship programs. They have the Stover Scholars for Constitutional Studies and Moral Leadership. And that sounded like something that just was a perfect opportunity. And so I applied, I got it, and I was able to come to Waynesburg. So really,
Now,
go ahead.
Are you on the school paper, or what? How are you? Are you serving in any active function in terms of the media based at the university?
Yes, I am the executive editor of our campus newspaper, The Yellow Jacket. And so that has been definitely one of my bigger challenges over the past year and a half, has been, dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. We had our print version shut down, and so now we are all online, which has been a challenge, but it's been definitely it's been a good challenge, I think.
Right. Well, it's interesting because you see firsthand, if you will, the workings at right in university, the workings of the media and how they can impact the news cycle on a hyperlocal basis. I mean, campuses are a small city, particularly at the university level. In your capacity there, were you executive editor during the presidential election?
Yes. I took over at the beginning of last semester, so in August.
So I'm curious from your perspective as a young libertarian, how did the campus newspaper react to the presidential election? Was there much engagement with that at your school?
Yeah, so that was one of my main goals coming into the year, with it being a presidential election year. I really wanted to cover how the university and, students, faculty, how they were approaching such a unique election cycle. And so we did a series where we were polling different student groups across campus. We also had faculty. We also worked a lot with our campus television station, WCTV. We did an election night special. It was live on YouTube, and we had different students come in, faculty. Dr. Lawrence Stratton is the director of the Stover Center, fantastic political mind, one of my personal mentors, someone that has really influenced me in my 4 years here. So yeah, we went all in trying to cover every aspect of the election. And it was really, really an interesting experience to be able to be on the media side of an election. And now here I am 4 months later, and I'm on the campaign side of an election.
Now, how have your schoolmates reacted, if you will, and your professors? Are they aware yet that you're running for a significant office?
Yes. Yeah. I made everything official on social media this week after I got the nomination, and the amount of support has been just incredible. And really, when I was thinking about it, I went to, my close circle of people and proposed it. Like, do you think this is something that we can pull off? And, they heard my passion for this, and they were go for it 100%. And so when I made that announcement, it really has been so reassuring the amount of support that I have. I've had so many people, regardless. We get into, at least in my group of friends, we get into political conversation a lot. And we have a very politically diverse group of Republicans, Democrats, independents. I'm typically the leading voice in the Libertarian circle, but I have converted a few, which is always good news. But I have Republicans and Democrats that, as soon as I told them, said, I want to work on your campaign. And I think that's really huge, because for a short race like this, we're going to need to change and show Democrats and Republicans how liberty works. And, what better way to do that than to have someone, people that I know and that I'm close to personally, have them speak on my behalf. And it's really, I'm really excited to, take this opportunity to spread liberty through people that I'm close with.
Now, what type of acceptance have you seen for the libertarian philosophy as a current university student? For a lot of for a lot of us, I should say, this is an area of great hypothesis, if you will. There's a lot of us theorize about this, but you're right in the heart of the middle of it. You're politically active. You're running for a high office, as well as intimately involved in the operations of your university's newspaper. What type of reaction do you get from the liberal elites, if you will, at your university, as well as, say, the more establishment young Republican types?
Yeah, so I get a whole mix of reactions. It's really funny. There are people who, the first time I talk to them and, explain the libertarian stance on something, they'll look at me and say, that makes a lot of sense. And those are the people that it's very quick to, convert and get into libertarianism. There are others that are more apprehensive, but I've always, in my personal experience, I'm not the type that's going to yell at you or, berate you or even get into an argument that escalates towards, the agree to disagree type thing. I want to talk things out. I've had 3, 4, 5-hour conversations with some of my friends about liberty, whether it's guns, whether it's taxes, whether it's the war on drugs stuff, regardless of the topic. I want to be the person that, we can have a long discussion like that. But then, when you're tired or you have something that you have to go do, you can come back to me a week later and we can continue it. And so really one of my favorite relationships that I've built here at Waynesburg University, my friend Matthew Mansfield, who is a very hardcore leftist, we can talk every single day about politics. And every single time I learned something from him, he learned something from me. And really, it's just been fantastic. The amount of people that I've been able to meet, and even if I can't convert them, it's such a fantastic discussion and discourse. And really, honestly, it gives me hope for the future of our country. And so I don't know if this is unique to Waynesburg University. We certainly have a fantastic community here, small, tight-knit community, but that's been my experience, at least.
Excellent. Now, let's talk about your district, your region. As I've said before, I went to college myself on the other side of Pennsylvania, but it's like many big states. It's incredibly diverse, not just in its population, but it's in economies, its geographies. I mean, Pennsylvania is an astonishing place. You can be in the heart of universities in the middle of downtown Philadelphia, in the middle of a thriving city, and an hour or two later, you can be in a region that is referred to as the Wild, which is really a hunters and sports person's paradise in the deepest parts of Pennsylvania. And then a couple hours later, you're in Pittsburgh. Of course, depending how you drive. If, like me, you ignore, and in fact, you can't drive 55. My record, I think, is about 4.5 hours or so across the state of Pennsylvania. Tell us about your region, though, your district, your county seat, and not just from a geographical perspective, but what are the economies built on? and what are the challenges facing, not just on a COVID level, but pre-COVID and looking past COVID in terms of education, and what are they concerned about? What issues are they obsessing about right now? Give us sort of a complete perspective.
So I have to start off this question with a little bit of a story. So a few summers ago, I worked with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for my summer job. And one of my foremen, this was around the time, I don't know if you've heard the song God's Country by Blake Shelton. This was around the time this song was really popular, and it came on the radio. And he mentioned, this is my favorite song because we live in God's county. And honestly, Armstrong County is God's county. It is so beautiful. If you need, affirmation as to the beauty of God's creation, Armstrong County is the place to be. It is incredible. The rivers, the woodlands. You have to go to Armstrong County. Do yourself a favor, if at all, if you're in Pennsylvania. And for me growing up, I grew up in North Apollo, which is at the very bottom tip of Armstrong County, literally a bridge away from Westmoreland County. And so a lot of my interactions were with, that bottom half. Kataning's dead smack 45 or half an hour away from where I grew up. And so a lot of my interactions were up to Katanning, but as I grew up and experienced the county more, it truly is a fantastic place. It's very rural. We're not dealing with, Katanning's not that big compared to, major cities, but people interact within their communities a lot, and even inner communities. People from Apollo and North Apollo interact with people from Leechburg. It's a very homegrown place. And so a lot of the economy, because we are so close to Pittsburgh, a lot of people commute, whether they work in the city or just outside of the city. A lot of people will live in our area and commute. There's also a lot of, construction and truck driver jobs in the area. And so I think that the main concern in the area right now is, and small businesses too, I should mention that, because really I think that is the biggest concern, is the small businesses. There were restaurants, small restaurants, local, that were shut down. And that's someone's livelihood. That's someone, this isn't someone who has a ton of money and they just threw it at a restaurant. This is someone who's worked years, 10, 20 years to build up this restaurant to really pursue their dream. And with the stroke of a pen from a tyrannical governor, their business is shut down. And there was pushback. I believe it was Dobro's Kitchen, which is about 15 minutes from where I live. Fantastic food. They essentially said, we're not shutting down. And they got a letter placed on their door after they had closed, typical operation hours. They came back the next day and there was a letter from the state ordering them to shut down. And they put it on their Facebook page, and it was really interesting because the signature, that signed the letter, complete scribbles, lines, you couldn't make out even a letter. And they pressed on. And so that very much is the mentality of the area. It's that, we're not going to let government overrule, government overreach dictate our lives. And I think that was the mentality pre-COVID, and I think that's the mentality now. And so really the governor, what the governor has done over the past year and a half is, I think, the number one hot button issue in the area right now.
Mm-hmm. So you've got that near nationwide affinity with indiscriminate shutdowns, capricious and arbitrary governmental rulings that are decided outside of any real science, and at the same time ignorant of the rights of the individual. Did I pretty much sum it up?
Yes.
It's a universal, where it's bringing our country together for all the wrong reasons. It's we broadcast out of little Providence, Rhode Island, and here Rhode Island's a state probably about the size of Pittsburgh, and yeah, we've got the same madness going on. There's a magic in the air. Has it made folks in your community more ripe, if you will, more open to conversations about the role of government in their lives, and perhaps give an opening for a libertarian candidate like yourself?
Absolutely. This district is very much red. I believe 85% of the vote in 2020 went to Donald Trump. And so, these are people at their very core that, want to believe in small government. And it was incredible when over the summer, my friend and myself, Benjamin Sievers, who is now my vice chair with the Armstrong County Libertarian affiliate, we reaffiliated with the LPPA Armstrong County for the first time since, I believe, the early 2010s. And, we were just trying to get our names out there, trying to make sure people knew that we were now active and we were going to be challenging Democrats and Republicans in the area very soon. And so we were hitting the ground running, campaigning for Dr. Jorgensen, and there just weren't that many events. And it was really weird because my expectation was, okay, Armstrong County, those who are at risk, they're going to stay home, they're going to wear their masks. But I assumed things would continue on as normal. And there were actually some event closures. And so we were looking for different ways to get interactive and involved with the community. And right in our hometown of Apollo, Pennsylvania, they started doing food trucks every Wednesday for lunch and dinner. And it started with myself and Ben bringing a chair and a clipboard. That didn't work out in the middle of the summer in 90-degree heat. We roasted the first week. So we eventually invested in a tent and a table. And each week, up until ballot signatures were due for ballot access, we were collecting signatures. And then for the weeks after, we were just talking to people about libertarianism. And it was amazing how many people were open to hearing our message. Now, the next step with people who are open is the actual conversion. And that's really what I hope to accomplish with this campaign. I think that this is an area very ready to hear the message of liberty. It's now about showing them that it's an applicable message. We can do this. We can A, win this election, and B, change the way that our state government treats us just by being that different voice, by being, in my case, the younger voice, but an alternate voice at the state level. I think that this is the area to do it at.
And by note, I have to give you some real kudos, number one, for being active in the presidential election, working hard on the on signatures and ballot access. I was out during those same weeks, similar weather up in Rhode Island, actually with my studio mate here, John Gabso, and we spent quality time out in 90+ degree heat. And here we found the Registry of Motor Vehicles to be somewhat amenable to allowing us to enforce our state-ordered rules in order to participate in the democratic process. It was a brutal time for a lot of us because we were out in the heart of the quote-unquote pandemic. And at the same time, despite the state's abnegations against engaging in, public conversations and freedom of association, despite their admonitions against that, they simultaneously forced us to be out there, and so that we could pay homage to the state. I got a kick out of it. One of the fun parts about doing this show, and I'm a newspaper junkie, and I get to read all sorts of newspapers. And without meeting you, I probably never would have read the Trib Live. It's triblive.com, and it's a great local newspaper, and it's fascinating to me. And this is what's so important about running for local office, being part of the game. There was an article actually from Thursday dated about the nomination, if you will, of an individual who's going to be running for Representative Jeff Pyle's seat. And, her name is Abby Major. And the headline is about her, but most of the article is quite frankly about you. You know, they give you all sorts of props about the Libertarian candidate being named, and give you an opportunity in a couple of lines to talk about the platform and just touch on the Libertarian philosophy. And in your case, in your town, have Libertarians run for office before, or are you amongst the first?
I believe I'm amongst the first. Now, like I said, my attention to the political sphere started 5 years ago when I was 17. But yeah, as far as this locality, I believe I'm the first in a while. I know that the prior people that had been affiliated with the LPPA, one of their main goals was to run a candidate for county commissioner, and I don't think they ever got the chance to before people moved away.
Mhm.
So yeah, this is the first, I think, really strong libertarian presence in a long time in Armstrong County,
Mhm.
and I'm really excited to see where it leads.
We had your vice chair on just a few weeks ago, coincidentally, to talk about the affiliate structure and the Moulton maneuver, where they ran for and dozens of offices and managed to win 40 plus offices. How involved is the affiliate on the local level? I know you're very active in it, and are you working and getting support from the party and across affiliates? Given the notion that this is sort of a shot in the dark election. It came out of nowhere, and it's an opportunity to move the needle for the LP.
Yeah, so I guess collaboration between affiliates actually started over the winter. The Armstrong affiliate is very small. We started in the summer. We're right now trying to grow as much as possible, and hopefully this campaign will aid in that.
Mm-hmm.
But also, right beside us, Westmoreland County, they affiliated around the same time, and so over the winter, I was collaborating a lot with Aaron Rhinesmith, who's now the chair of the Westmoreland affiliate. And so that collaboration has evolved into, almost full participation. Aaron's been a fantastic asset to my campaign team already. I know I saw a couple of his comments pop up already, so I appreciate him tuning in as well. He's been fantastic. And honestly, I have to say that about everyone that I've met so far in the LPPA. This really, I'm coming up on a full year of involvement with it. So, still very much early in my process with them, but everyone that I've met has been not only supportive, but the amount of talent within the party is really just astonishing. I'm so blessed to have been able to find them when I did, because actually I needed an internship, and so I had secured an internship with the Pittsburgh Pirates for last summer, and then obviously COVID canceled that. And so for my program here at Waynesburg in the Department of Communication, we need an internship as a part of our graduation standards. And so I reached out to the state party, and they were so receptive of my idea to try to grow, first off reaffiliate Armstrong, but then grow our youth involvement. And so that was my internship, and I could not have had a better internship. The amount of different communication skills I was able to build on from what I've learned at Waynesburg, but also create new skills. Like I was writing press releases, which is something that I've never really done. We have a PR
Mm-hmm.
program here, but my focus is journalism, and I got to write press releases, a bunch of different stuff. Fantastic. And yeah, just all around. Sam Robb, my Western vice chair, has
Right.
been incredibly helpful through this entire process. I was on the phone with him for 45 minutes yesterday, talking about strategy, paperwork, everything. So yeah, the support from the state party has been just incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sam Robb is excellent people, as we like to say. Here's a gentleman who ran for the presidency. When he didn't get the nomination, effortlessly morphed into a key player in terms of running the Pennsylvania campaign. A real gentleman, and someone who is just seems to effortlessly. He makes it look effortlessly and endlessly contribute to party operations, candidacies at literally every level. Again, at a time when there's seemingly endless controversy, when you see someone like Sam Robb just extending himself at every level, you have to take a moment and celebrate those individuals whose spirit and goodwill is everywhere. And again, the Pennsylvania organization just seems to come to the distinct aid of everyone across the state who is either running for office or working on behalf of the party. It seems like you guys have a great team there. Let's talk about the mechanics, if you will, because this show focuses on candidacies and part of that is the execution of a campaign. Now, you've got 5 or 6 weeks, if you will, to do so. I have an old line that I use when people ask me about, it's great. You work for yourself, you work in politics, you get to set your schedule. I always tell them, if I'm awake, I'm working. I get that sense that you operate under that same, MO. How have you laid out, without giving out any trade secrets, but that crazy mix of in person during a time of a pandemic, social media, and how are you going to, on a physical basis, reach out to individual voters right now?
So one of the main themes of this campaign already is that, yes, I'm young, but that's one of my advantages. And I learned that right off the bat when I was putting together a campaign team. Like I said, those Democrats and Republicans who I know from school, stepping up and offering to volunteer for my campaign, that's a huge help. But also, I have a department of communication that I've been working in for 3.5 years. I have a videographer who is a sophomore in the department who does just incredible professional work, who said, let's do it. I want to help you on your campaign. So that's going to be huge. So absolutely, please, if you're interested in following the campaign, you can follow it at AMH, the number 4 Liberty. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The website's also the same thing, AMH, the number 4 Liberty.com. But yeah, as far as the mechanics goes, there's going to be a good presence online. I can promise that, just because of, the communication background of a lot of people on the campaign, including myself. But as far as door knocking, and other ways of meeting people, it's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take a lot of work to cover a very large district in 6 weeks. But we have the people for it. We have the people who, and it's not just covering, but people with knowledge of their communities. Chris Kostick has been an incredible asset to the campaign right off the bat. She immediately, when she saw on Facebook, reached out to Benjamin Sievers and myself and said, I want to help out in any way that she could. And she was the one that got me in touch with the Trib. She was the one that got me in touch with the Indiana Gazette as well. So people who are in touch with their communities. Another one is Mr. Joe Solosky, who is, a gubernatorial candidate for 2022, who reached out to me and said, hey, I'm from Armstrong County. I'm from Kittanning. I still know a ton of people in Kittanning. I want to knock doors in Kittanning for you. So we have people who have knowledge of, the various communities in this large district. And I think that's really going to play to our advantage. It is a sprint. It is 6 weeks, but the energy that I've gotten from everyone else to match my excitement and my energy for this shows me that we have a very good chance of pulling this off.
Excellent. How many people do you anticipate voting? I know It's a special election. These are challenging times. It's difficult to look back on past statistics, but if you had a guess, how many people do you think are going to vote, and what do you think the win number is going to have to be?
So in typical odd year election cycles, we were looking at the numbers. Really, it's 10,000 around that area of voters in the district. With it being a special election, and we hope to generate excitement for this election and bring people who, otherwise wouldn't be showing up for this election. We hope to bring them to the polls on election day. We were looking at 15, 16,000. Our first target number is 6,300 voters. But as we continue, once we hit that, because I think we're going to hit that relatively early, we're going to keep upping that. We want to go far beyond that because, like I said, we need to pull from the Republicans. We need Democrats to vote for us. But we absolutely need to take advantage of voters who are frustrated with the system, maybe haven't voted in 3 or 4 years. And, we need to give them a reason to get to the polls to vote. And that's why it's fantastic in Pennsylvania. We have these 2 ballot initiatives on the ballot that anyone can vote for. It's not, a primary thing. Any registered voter in Pennsylvania, there's going to be 2 ballot initiatives to drastically decrease the governor's emergency powers. And that is what I'm running on. So we are going to approach voters and say, listen, if you're going to the polls just to vote for this, why don't you vote for us? Because we're going to, if I win, that's A1 is to make sure that what happens with those ballot initiatives, that's not just it. It's not, hey, we're done. We took a little bit of power away from the governor. This needs to be a first step. It needs to be the first step on a case-by-case basis of peeling back some of the, just ridiculous executive power in the Pennsylvania state government. So that's our plan, is to really align ourselves with those ballot initiatives and drive people who typically wouldn't be going to the polls, get them excited about our campaign and get them there.
Excellent. Excellent. Tell us a little bit more about, because you brought up a great point. There are a variety of ways that you can, and from where I grew up in Jersey, we use the term gravy train, where you can gravy train an issue, where you can grab by the throat, if you will, an issue and help that bring your candidacy home, particularly when the libertarian philosophy is what I call proof of concept, that not only during a pandemic like COVID, but in the run-up to COVID, a libertarian, if you will, form of stewardship, we don't use the word government here very often, might have, well, it would have prevented it, but it might have mitigated the impact in the sense that the free market access to healthcare and the creation of an entrepreneurial disruptive spirit within healthcare would have made this country stronger. A far more efficient government might have led to at least a recognition by the government of the issue and an understanding that the first step in terms of response to this from a limited national government would not have been to clamp down on civil liberties and prevent economic activity, but it would have actually worked to strengthen that and gotten out of the way. All of those things lead to this. So this, if you will, this ballot initiative, what are they specifically looking to dial back? And how are you going to use that as part of, say, your stump speech?
So the main thing they're looking at is the emergency powers. They want to put a limit on, how long those could stay in effect. And that's exactly what I'm targeting is, we had these shut a year, a full calendar year almost. And that's the problem with this is, if they peel it back to, say, 2 or 3 weeks with, with review from the legislature, well, then let's keep peeling it back and keep peeling it back. I want to get to the point where one person cannot make the decision to shut down thousands of lives, thousands of businesses. if we can get to that point, then, as I said, I have it on my website. There is a powerful legislature in Pennsylvania that can get this done. And I fully plan on working with them if I were to be elected to get this done, to limit the governor's powers. But the next step is something that the legislature might not like so much. And that is then once everything's done and out of the way, the governor, his powers have been significantly restricted. Now it's time to restrict our own powers. And part of that is cutting the salary of $90,000 a year at the state legislature, which I believe is top 5 in the country. And my whole thing with that is that's not the state's money. That's the taxpayers' money. That's the people's money. And so, at that point, if I am elected and we are able to restrict the governor's powers, it's time to build a coalition within the state legislature of people who want to restrict the legislature's powers, to restrict their own powers, essentially, because that's the only way we're going to get this accomplished. And it might be just me. I might ask the entire General Assembly to restrict their own powers or cut their own salary, and I might get laughed at. But my belief with the way that the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania is trending, if I'm able to break through and be elected, I'm just going to be the first of many. The party has grown so much, literally just in my 1 year involved with them, seen it grow so much statewide. I really think we're on the verge of turning a lot of seats and a lot of districts old in the near future. And so, they might all laugh at me when I ask them to restrict their powers, but help's on the way. And so I really think that this is something that we can get accomplished, but it has to be, as I said, a case-by-case basis. First, let's go after the emergency powers that have hurt us for the past year, but then let's start looking at everything else, trying to make sure that our state government doesn't have this just ridiculous amount of power over the people.
Always remember that the introduction of a law, the introduction of an act, particularly when it is, if you will, peeling away government, particularly when it is hearkening back to a time when our natural rights and our rights as individuals were respected, is a political act unto itself and is successful because it occurred, because ultimately it's those acts of political bravery, those acts of drawing the line in the sand, those acts of forcing people to commit to a vote and hence commit to a stance on that issue is so important. Win or lose, you are forcing folks who, as a lifetime practice, do not want to ever commit really to anything, are experts at painting with a broad brush, at the big strokes, at the large pronouncements which mean nothing. And you, as an individual running for office, are moving that van. You're moving the dialogue. You're moving the needle. And again, you are putting people on the record. Now, are you anticipating challenging these folks to a debate? And the reason I ask it in that way is I beg candidates not to wait for someone to create a debate, force the issue, and as a result, guarantee your inclusion. Where are you folks on that with regard to a short-term election process?
I tell you what, we haven't talked about that yet. It was brought up to me that there most likely would be a debate, and that's something that we've already begun preparing for, and I'd love to. I think that the best way to spread the message, what's a better way than to get a bunch of people together in the district and just have us talk about the issues. That to me is something that I'm looking forward to. If there isn't a plan to do one, which I'm going to get right on this weekend, I'm going to make sure if there's not a plan that we try to set something up. Because really, like I said in the beginning, I have the utmost respect for Representative Pyle. Part of my journey to not only liberty, but just involvement in politics in general is because of Representative Pyle. He made time during his busy schedule multiple times when I was in high school to go to the local area high schools and talk about state government and how it operates. That's something that really sparked my interest when I was, a junior, senior in high school. And so I owe a lot of this to him, and I'm very appreciative that he took the time to do that. And you know, this isn't going to be a slander campaign. I've gotten a lot of great advice from the state level libertarians already who've called and had, hour-long phone calls with me that I genuinely just can't explain how much I appreciate.
No, that's outstanding. And
Yes.
I beg libertarian candidates to initiate the debate process. The countless times I've heard, both as a state chair, we've got a candidate here, Bill Hunt, who's done incredible work on behalf of the Libertarian Party. And the reflection has always consistently been that when libertarian candidates are asked a question, you ready for this? They answer it. They answer it directly because they're looking at issues through that libertarian prism, through that libertarian perspective, as a function of our statement of principles. And it renders virtually every issue, even some of the most challenging issues societally, as almost easy because we have a belief system. Forcing the debate issue forces them to come to you and debate on your terms. And if they don't do it, if they refuse to do it because they're attempting to do that duopoly dance where we're just going to ignore the exigent challenges of folks who have a real belief system and an aggressive campaign stance, then just bring it to them. And certainly let us know, because there's an entire nation of libertarians right now who are chomping at the bit, if you will, for a little bit of a dust up and a little bit of a challenge. That brings us to a point where I always refer to this segment of the show as shameless self-promotion. Now, you've mentioned the sites a couple of times, but if you can mention again how folks can reach out to you, maybe as we say in Rhode Island, give you a little scarol, a little do-re-mi. Again, it's going to be quiet the next month or so in terms of candidacies as far as we know. Let's, as a nation, let's have a little bit of fun. If you can, put a little money into the game, if you can volunteer to do some remote phone calling or whatever options are available to you in a short-term campaign like this, let's have some fun. Let's get behind Drew's candidacy and, invest some time, perhaps in a part of the country you may never even visit, as beautiful as it is, but a part of the country that needs to see the libertarian ideal of stewardship of principles and stewardship of assets and stewardship of ideas, as opposed to the top-down governance that is so prevalent in states like Pennsylvania. So lay it on us. How can folks reach out to you? How can they send you a check? How can they support you? How can they introduce nothing less than the concept of individualism, self-ownership, and liberty into your district?
On Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, at AMH4Liberty. That's the first step. As soon as I know information, it's going on those three platforms. The website, amh4liberty.com. That's where you're going to learn more about me, and also make sure, if you want to help out in any way possible, there's already a volunteer form on there. Fill that out, and I'll be in touch with you as soon as I can, because, like I said, any and all help is appreciated with this campaign. This is my first time. Even if your volunteering is giving me advice, please fill out the volunteer form and just write in, giving Drew advice on his first campaign. That is very much appreciated. Over the weekend, we will be officially setting up our financial committee, and by Monday, you will see a place to donate. That is also appreciated too. Something that I wanted to try out with this campaign, on the website, once we have everything essentially price checked, what we need, we're going to put that on the website right under the donation spot. And we will keep the amount that we have been donated, we'll keep that live on the website. So you can watch quite literally where your donation money is going. That's really a part of my overall vision, is to be as transparent as possible with, what we're ordering, what we need, and how you help out. Because if I'm elected, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm a writer. I'm a journalist at heart. If I'm elected, if we can pull this off and I'm going to Harrisburg, I'd love to do it every single day. A journal of what I experienced, what I witnessed, and what's going on at the state level, because people need to see that. You know, it's one thing to see it in the newspapers. It's another thing to see it from your representative. And so that's my main goal, is to use the website to be as transparent as possible. So please check us out, AMH, the number 4 Liberty, whether it's on social media or just on our website. Give us a look, and any way you can help out is greatly appreciated.
So in a sense, what you're creating is a sort of not a bridal registry per se, but sort of a candidates registry. I love that. You know, folks can essentially sponsor a particular component of the campaign. I think that idea has legs, both, as you said, in a great form of transparency, but also to identify to people what campaigns need on just a grunt, feet on the street, boots on the ground, physical basis. And for a lot of folks who've never been part of a campaign, it can be a real eye-opener. It can absolutely be a real eye-opener. Well, listen, congratulations, first of all, on the run. Congratulations on bringing people together to a spot in Pennsylvania. That's as important as any. Congratulations on introducing liberty and self-ownership to part of Pennsylvania. It seems like it probably needs a little bit of a relief from that red and blue conundrum that so many communities face. And listen, it sounds like you're on the way. I understand you're a Steelers fan. There's been a couple players recently who might have had that, been that 4 or 5 tool athlete. But if you can continue to combine, if you will, the recognition of the importance of journalism and media and all that entails into a candidacy, plus at the same time develop the experience of running for office, winning office, engaging with people, becoming part of the community, then you've got that opportunity to be that 5-tool athlete for the libertarian movement. And it's just outstanding to see. It's outstanding that you're bringing it to, as we say in different parts of the country, the Ute, because the future of this movement is right now, today, tomorrow morning, not next week, not next month, engaging with young folks so that they're giving it an opportunity to grow and mature politically beyond, if you will, the limits of that blue nanny state socialist engagement that seems to be the only consistent opportunity in many parts of the country. We as a movement need to embrace college students and young people, and we need to give them opportunities like this. So listen, I thank you so much for joining us. Andrew, AKA Drew Hreha, he is a candidate for nothing less than the state of Pennsylvania General Assembly, the 60th district in Armstrong County, containing Pennsylvania in its outward portions. And it's a special election. When is election day again?
Election day is May 18th.
May 18th. So we've got less than 60 days as libertarians nationally to get behind Drew, focus all that angst and energy we seem to have on social media these days, and redirect it to someone who is clearly capable of accomplishing gains for our movement and philosophy right now. And right now, it'd be great to have a whole lot of right now. Drew, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much, Pat. Pleasure's been all mine. I really appreciate it.
Excellent. Folks, you've been with Candidate's Corner on LPTV, Libertarian Party Television, a production of the Libertarian Party and Libertarian National Committee, Joe Bishop, Henchman Chairman. As always, John Gapso on the big board has brought you the graphics, the information, the articles, and a little bit of fun. And I'm grateful for his continuing efforts at volunteering for the party 2 nights a week. Again, Monday night, we're going to be spending time with yet another affiliate discussing affiliate kind of issues as a function of the Libertarian Party Affiliate Support Committee. Joining us then 9 o'clock again on LPTV on the Libertarian Party Facebook page, as well as we're going to share it around the nation to a number of affiliate groups. I've been your host, Pat Ford. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you Monday evening, 9 o'clock. Have a wonderful weekend. Give Drew some chance. Give him a fight. Let's give him hell in District 60 in Pennsylvania. Thank you.